Welcome to the second episode of Gamechangers. Today we have a friend of mine who I've known for a while, and he is the founder of a really cool company that's kind of shifted from Web3 into something a little bit different, but I'll let him go through that journey in a bit more detail. It's Krish Jagirdar. Is that how I say it?
Jagirdar.
Jagirdar. Krish Jagirdar. Sorry, it's my English pronunciation of it, I guess. who's joining me. So Krish, awesome to have you on and to be chatting today.
Thank you for having me, Logan.
No worries. So, internet game. What is it now? Give me the elevator pitch. Not the lift pitch, the elevator pitch.
So, Internet Game is a community-driven casual gaming platform that is completely browser-based. We have infinite room technology, tournament functionality, voice chat built into the platform, team selection built into the platform. So in a lot of ways, you can look at us or think about us as like Jackbox to Mario Party-esque games, but completely in the browser and completely scalable.
How did you get to where you are? And because I know, but I want listeners and viewers to know the journey.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously, people that come across Internet Game today, they don't know about the history and the origin, but it really goes back to, frankly, a few years ago where. The first thing is that my co-founder Jordan and I, when we got together to essentially start building Internet Game, the thing that we were most interested in was interactive media and interactive content, right? When you think about social media today, so much of it is passive. It's happening to you. And we just basically saw a world where people were actually, even regardless of where they were essentially having fun together, playing together in more interactive ways. Things like Clubhouse were really interesting to us because that was, essentially showcasing a new type of medium where regardless of people were, they could be essentially on a live podcast. And, seeing how that evolved into Twitter Spaces and all that kind of stuff is really fascinating. And I think that, as we kind of went down the rabbit hole of interactive gaming, we found ourselves looking at, interactive content, we found ourselves looking at gaming in particular. And that's when we kind of really saw just how massive the gaming industry is. All these kind of fun facts that you've probably heard before where, the gaming industry is larger than the social media industry. The gaming industry is larger than the TV, film, and music industry combined. So for us, that was kind of like this big, massive unlock. We're like, wow, gaming is this sleeping giant that no one really kind of considers the size and scale of. And so, for us, what had happened was we were like, all right, well, there's so many different ways to get into gaming, but we wanted to do something and kind of tried to continue to do something very unique. My co-founder and I are both kind of Web3 native folks. We've been spending time personally in the crypto spaces and in the trenches doing all this kind of fun things. But two really interesting things happened. One was that basically there was a television show on Netflix called Squid Game that came out in the summer of 22 and was a complete global phenomenon, right? It captured the world by storm. And I think that whenever something like that happens, whenever there's just some amazing show or movie or book that really just kind of takes over culture, I think that there's something to be said about the kind of vicarious nature that people want to experience, right? They want to they're like, I would be on Squid Game. I would fight for my life to win a lot of money. And so, that was one thing that we kind of took note of. The second thing that we took note of was really kind of this rise of Web3, specifically NFTs, where people were going crazy trying to get the best NFTs, make money playing with NFTs and all that kind of stuff. And so Internet Game was essentially a combination of this kind of Squid Game concept, but with NFTs. So we launched Internet Game as essentially the Squid Game of NFTs, where we did a mint. We then took 60% of the mint revenue, which ended up being millions of dollars, and putting it towards this crazy prize pool of again, the most insane NFTs that people at this time really, really wanted. And then we basically built 5 games that were elimination style. Each game you had 24 hours to play. It only took 5 minutes, but based off of your score, if you were in the bottom 20%, you were eliminated. So people really lost their minds over this. And, that's where it really kind of led to where we are today, largely just because after we did that initial run of Internet Game, what happened was a lot of people started coming to us saying hey, can you build games for us? Can we use your games? And that's really kind of where we started to have different types of aha moments about what we could build next.
And so with that success, I remember it very clearly, and I remember seeing it in, I guess, on Twitter as it was at the time, and seeing it kind of everywhere. Partly, probably for 2 reasons, and this is my take, and tell me if this is kind of how you see it as well. An original idea, which I think is still extremely powerful. People talk about execution versus ideas. An idea can still have so much power, I think. But then also the prize was a Bored Ape. I've never seen someone give away a Bored Ape, and especially at that time, how much was that worth? And did you buy that before, or did you buy that with sort of prize money that was building to then fuel that marketing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we actually ended up giving away 2 Bored Apes, and I think each of them at the time that we gave them away were about 150 ETH, and let's say around. Basically, it was, I think with the ape, the NFT itself, and then the ape coin that was inside of it, because we gave that away as well. I think each of them were close to like $400,000, $500,000 worth of value in USD terms. So yeah, it was wild. And then I think this is a good question, because what we did was we raised this small amount of money when we first started Internet Game and said, hey, this is what we're gonna do. Obviously it's easy to say like, oh yeah, like, pay us money for the mint and then we'll take the money and buy the Bored Ape. But we wanted to show people that we were serious. So we took like a large amount of our pre-seed capital and used that money on an NFT, which is crazy sounding. But I think that, like you kind of said, when it comes to marketing and distribution, I think that you do need to show conviction. You need to show that you're serious. You kind of need to jump in first before you expect people to follow you.
I think it's nice and it's refreshing, and I think people, took notice of that, because we're in a day, and like we're in the age of testing, optimization. Start small, start with $10 and then adjust your creative from there. That's the playbook, right? That's the textbook of how you market. And in Web3 maybe that's a bit different. It's more offer out small rewards and see how you go. And so I think it's it was a cut through and a risk, and people I think really appreciate that, because it doesn't happen very much now.
No, I think again, like this is now even just beyond gaming or even what we did. Anytime I talk to people about entrepreneurship or about being a founder or anything like that, I think the thing that a lot of like would-be founders or entrepreneurs essentially want is this like very easy transition from like one port or one boat to the next boat. They just want to hop from one to the other, but it doesn't work like that. You literally have to jump into the water and you need to swim to that next port, to that next boat. And to a certain extent, that means burning the boats behind you so that you have nothing else to fall back on. And I think that's what leads to a higher likelihood of success, regardless of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So going back a little bit, I guess, before Internet Game, what were you up to, and what kind of like brought you skill set wise to that, and motivation wise? Sorry.
No, for sure. So, myself, I'm again, like I said, technology native. So I graduated from college, and startups and all that kind of stuff. Mobile applications were all the rage. So for me, I just immediately beelined towards the tech industry. So I've been in the tech industry through kind of, I guess, wearing various hats over the course of my 20s, which was, around when we started Internet Game, I guess late 20s, early 30s. And so, yeah, I started my career in just tech sales and, was like kind of cutting my teeth, understanding, how to talk about tech and all that kind of stuff. From there, tried my hand at product management, went over to a startup, did that for a little bit, and then made my way into management consulting, which, I think was a really great education, specifically technology management consulting, understanding commercialization aspects of the business, marketing aspects of the business, which then led me to venture. So then I spent about 3 years acting as a seed stage venture investor, which I think was probably one of the best educations that you can really get, because you get to just see so many businesses at scale. You can see what works, what doesn't work. And then I don't usually talk about it, but during my time in venture, I'd also like scaled out this like kind of social media growth business to a few $1 million in ARR, where we basically kind of like made people famous on Instagram and which was like, again, a whole other world. So I think that the combination of kind of like having a tech native background with a decent understanding of social media gave me I would say just a really great foundation to think about, all right, how do you kind of think through the foundational elements of a business and then, get the distribution needed.
That's so interesting that you went kind of that way around. I guess it's the sort of untraditional way around to go from sort of venture into founding your own business, perhaps. I mean, it obviously happens, but so you had that kind of wider education. So from that grounding, what are those lessons today around marketing specifically? And then I guess anything else that you've kind of taken from those days and internet game in its sort of two variations?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think that when it comes to marketing, I think that you kind of have to zoom out a bit, and you consider that there's two components, right? There's marketing, and then there's product, right? There's distribution, there's product, and there's distribution. And I oftentimes say that one hand washes the other. And so I remember, again, someone like you, where, you may help with a lot of marketing efforts, and what that may mean is that you can help with distribution. But if the product is shitty, or I don't know if I can curse here, but if the product isn't dope or interesting, et cetera, no one's going to care. And so I oftentimes say that 1,000 times 0 is still 0. So, for us, I think that as long as you have something that's interesting, something that's compelling, that's something that looks good, something that's solving a problem, and then you are marketing, what you're doing is you're pouring fuel on the fire. You're providing a solution, or you're providing entertainment, but in a way that's interesting to people that want it through the distribution channels and marketing channels. So I think at the core of it is, like, as long as you have something that's interesting, something that's dope, something that solves a problem, something that's novel but familiar, and then you put distribution efforts behind it, you likely will be successful. But I really do think it is kind of a two-part game.
And my thoughts about internet game and the kind of caliber of game and sort of quality and experience you get. It is kind of a step above, I guess, because I think when you talk about internet game, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, when you say like cloud-based gaming, people might just think of what they kind of have experienced as like cloud-based gaming, casual game, and you go, oh, okay, I know what that is. But actually people don't know what internet game is, and the kind of novel kind of experience it is. It is much more like you are sort of in a room together playing, like that kind of, Mario Kart in your bedroom with your brother type experience, which I think is like the kind of feeling that, you want from those kind of games, and those sort of multiplayer games that are weirdly competitive, and also the other games that kind of make you, understand a bit more about that person. And I guess where I'm going with this is, your kind of target audience, I guess, or who do you see mostly kind of playing your games? Is it friends? Is it communities? Is it businesses?
Yeah. So, well, first I just want to say I appreciate you saying that, and I'm incredibly proud of what we built, and I can frankly take the least amount of credit for it. We have just such a talented team that, really led by my co-founder, who have built just this amazing platform and the suite of games that are, like you said, just like kind of fun, exciting, casual yet still interesting, hard to master, and it's the experience itself is very seamless. So if I was being humbled before, I think it's one thing to know where I truly believe that internet game and what we built is one of one. It's a complete category creation in terms of highly scalable, like multiplayer mini games. It's never been done before, so it is cool to see us doing things. Funny enough, I was with my CTO at dinner last night, and he was talking about his day, and one of the things he was talking about was how so many of his problems, or usually when you're trying to solve a technical problem, it's one of those things where you can just kind of Google the answer and see how other people have done it, but he's basically solving problems for the first time. And I find that so fascinating, because not only is he able to overcome it and do it, but at the same time, it also kind of does showcase the type of work we're doing. And then, with regard to your second question, which was really kind of around the market, there's something that I say often, which is to game is to be human. And I think that oftentimes when we think of gamers, we think about the 10-year-old or 13-year-old with the headset on playing Fortnite. But the truth is that the first deck of cards was created in 1100 AD. Words with Friends is a game. Monopoly Go is a game. Codenames is a game. Twister is a game. And I think Rummy. And I guess my point is that we, like, even the way that we made friends as adults or as children on the playground, or in an adult racquetball or pickleball league, you're playing games together, and that's actually how you can build relationships and how you can form. So to a certain extent, the cheesy answer is that everyone is our target market, because we build games that are accessible for everyone, right? We have games that my mom can play, and we have games that are extremely fast twitch, and my mom would not be able to play well. But the idea is that because they're all so short and sweet, you can kind of make your way through a bunch of them, and there's something for everyone. But with regard to kind of how we are essentially targeting or going after this kind of market of everyone, there's a multi-step approach. And so, as you've noted, one of our biggest kind of users now of the internet game platform is kind of remote teams, distributed teams that are looking for ways to connect with each other. And so when I say that internet game is a community-driven casual gaming platform, something that I say is that a company is just a community, but everyone's paid to be there. And what I mean by that is that you think about something like Wildfire, and you got your team of 10, 20 folks, and they all care so deeply about the work that you're doing. Just like my team of 10, 20 folks, we all care so deeply about the work that we're doing, and that's actually the kind of bond or the community tie that we have. And so, for us, we see that really across so many different organizations, regardless if you're in marketing, video games, health tech, fintech, it doesn't matter. People just really care about the work that they're doing, and they care about the people that they do it with. And so internet game, especially in this kind of post-COVID remote world where people are working in distributed organizations, distributed teams, they really lack a way to connect. They can't go to happy hour, they can't have a pizza party. And then, so I think that internet game has become a really great solution just because it's just like seamless fun for a half an hour or an hour. So that's really kind of the first target market, but then we're kind of scaling up from there.
Yeah, totally makes sense to start with that and build out, right? Then you're building your kind of features around that core audience. That's what we use it for at Wildfire. Sam wins every week. No one can really beat him. So, the game that we need to, you need to push someone off the platform. We all try and gang up on him, but he still wins. Fair play to him. So what's next for internet game? Like, what is the, in terms of like roadmap, obviously you're talking about your future in terms of, reaching everyone and being that kind of that platform, but like to go from where you are now, I know you have tournaments, things like that. Like what's cool that's coming next basically?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, like I said, there's like kind of like 3 tiers to internet game in terms of the things that we're doing. And like I said, it's the platform is malleable, it's very flexible, and it can solve a lot of different problems for a lot of different groups of people. The reason that we started with teams to a certain extent was because it was a very kind of safe way to go to market, right? It was revenue generating. It created essentially a negative CAC thing where basically Logan signs up and then he brings Sam and the rest of his team. You're essentially bringing users to the platform, and then to a certain extent, and I appreciate you for it, paying us for it. And so, that was a really interesting way to essentially kind of get, utilize games to solve problems. And it also allowed us to test our games in a vacuum. Because now we can see what games are fun, what games are played, what's working on the platform, what's not, and we could do that in a very kind of low risk way. But then, for us, as we scale the platform, we move towards more stability, we move towards games, we're going to add things like spectate mode, we're going to add things like, best reach, like even stuff like so much invisible stuff that goes into kind of game development, just to do things like reduce latency, improve multiplayer experiences, things like that the user won't see, but greatly improve the performance. That's another big area for us. But the thing that I'm probably most excited for will be our Twitch integration, which we'll probably explore in early next year. And again, it goes back to the whole idea of community, right? Because you think about companies, they can be communities. Even like Web3 Discords, they're big users of ours, right? Right now, they really can only use things like poker to like play a game with 100 or 300 or 500 people. But now they can use things like internet game because of our scalability. So continuing to kind of solve problems for the teams, the Web3 communities, but then again, Twitch, I think, is something that is going to be really exciting for us, just because imagine a world where, you have 10,000 people watching a Twitch streamer, and he or she can say, hey, like, who wants to like play some games with me? And who doesn't want to play games with their favorite Twitch streamer? And they can just drop a link and literally within minutes all be playing games together. So I think that's going to be an exciting vertical for us as well.
Would you, as you were saying that, I'm thinking, I'm a brand. Sounds interesting. Is that something you're considering or planning? Sure. I know you've done that previously.
Yeah, exactly. And that was kind of a big component to us. So, right, I think that especially kind of after the whole Squid Game thing, we had this world where a lot of different brands were like, hey, can you build games for us? And again, it's enticing, right? It's exciting. Oh my God, this brand or that brand wants to work with us. But then, it's a trap in the sense that you kind of find yourself in more of this like agency world, and especially as a venture-backed company, that's like, it's dangerous, right? So you want to say yes, but you got to be careful because you might find yourself in a strange place as a venture-backed company, and so that's something that we are building towards in general, which is like, again, when we think about the platform and the flexibility of it, the ability to run a tournament, modify the UI, send it out to people, have a bunch of prizes, free Taco Bell for life, free t-shirt or whatever it is, and just come play our games. We've been contacted by a number of these like kind of loyalty applications where brands work with them. And what do these brands want? They want games. But games are, incredibly difficult to build. They're extremely expensive to build, and they're hard to do right. So I think that, that's definitely an area that we'll probably spend some time in, but finding the right way to go about it that's scalable is a challenging one.
That kind of keeps the quality, because obviously, it's a very easy kind of switch on of a banner or something in the background, but whether you want to do that versus, bespoke games and what does that game look like, how much time are you spending on it, must be a bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah, that, and then frankly things like accessibility, right? So I think that when you're a brand, you have a global audience to a certain extent, people on different timetables, time zones, and so for us, I think it's a function of having a mobile first approach and a asynchronous approach, as opposed to something that's more like, hey, everyone be here at 4 p.m. It's a lot easier for a online community to do that. It's a lot easier for a team to do that, right? You can put it in your calendar and be like, hey guys, we're gonna play games for an hour.
That's how we do it.
Yeah, again, like, and I know from your background of HQ, right? Like, it's like, all right, everyone show up at 9 or show up at 3. Like, so for us, I think it's about exploring kind of more of a mobile first, asynchronous first approach over the course of time.
And what about esports? What about internet game esports? Like, how can Sam go and compete at internet game?
Yeah,
because he's good, but he's probably not as good at anyone as your company. I bet you guys are insane.
We are. Yeah, there's some people at our team that they're so incredible. Some of them literally built the game. So he's like, like, we're like, how does he always win? He's like, I built it.
Yeah, is that fair? That's probably not fair.
Yeah, but the short answer is that, that's something that we are excited about. We have a couple different games on the internet game platform that I believe have the esports potential. There's a game of ours that's called Astro Ball, which has a very kind of like Rocket League like feel to it. Essentially kind of like on this like air hockey ring and like trying to get a ball into the other person's goal, and we have a blast playing it. And I find that the kind of more advanced gamers, regardless of where they are, if they're at a company or if they're a Web3 community, like the more advanced people, they just kind of really gravitate towards that game. And I think the development of esports-esque games will probably kind of tie into the work that we do with Twitch, in the sense that we'll probably build entire leagues around particular games. We'll probably put up prizes so that there is, some initial draw to it or desire to practice or even get good at the game at a quote unquote pro level. And I'm very excited to see what like pro esports players look like in Astroball, because I'm very okay at it. So
I love it. Like, you see these kind of alternative sports leagues coming out. I mean, not just gaming, Sail GP, these kind of like different ways of, if like, I guess you have the traditional leagues in different sports that have been around forever. And then you have this kind of, I don't want to say the word because I think it's lame, but democratization of content and leagues, and really anyone can kind of go and start this if you have that following. I think that's really exciting. And I think, well, from my point of view, a lot of that comes down to community. And I'm interested in your kind of thoughts on internet games community. What do you use it for? Like, I'm not just talking about on Discord, but I know you have a good Discord, which I respect. Yeah, give me your thoughts on that.
No, I mean, you actually just kind of gave me an idea on the spot, which I'm gonna try and verbalize. But no, I think that's a very interesting insight. I think what you're saying is, if there is a rabid interest in a particular game, so like taking Astroball for example, if somehow some way Astroball does become this incredibly popular game on the internet game platform and people are coming there in droves to play it, I think naturally what will happen is talent will emerge, and then that's where you kind of look at the younger generations, not to age myself, but like you look at the younger generations that enjoy watching people play as much as they do playing themselves. I think that's kind of the domino effect of it, right? Which is like kind of like my dad watching golf, right? Like, my dad is decent at golf, but he loves watching these people play golf. And so I think it's, to a certain extent, like when you do have a giant fan base or a giant community around a particular type of game, that's what really kind of lends itself the ability to sustainably have some sort of esports league around it. For us, I think that right now, just to go back to your question more specifically though, I look at us much more as like a platform at this juncture. Like, I think that there's a world in a year or 2 years or 3 years where we're a little bit more consumer focused, right? Like, I think that there's so many different verticals that we want to tackle, but we don't want to boil the ocean, right? So it's team building, Discord, Twitch, and then from there is really where we start to explore things like consumer. And so I think from that perspective, our community, like just kind of like Discord, I think that we have more in common with Discord than we do another game title right now, right? I don't think Discord thinks about its community as much as the communities that exist on top of it. Yeah,
absolutely. So, I mean, we could go on forever, but in the interests of, like, half an hour goes so quickly. In the interests of people's attention span, which is of course decreasing by the second every day, if you believe the trade press. Then I wanted to kind of run our last question that is going to be a feature of the pod, which is, as an entrepreneur yourself, it's probably one that you might have an answer to already, which is, if you were tomorrow going to start another business, all the money in the world, all the time in the world, what would it be?
Yeah, that's a good question. If I'm being completely honest, it'd be one of two things. It'd be like either whatever Jordan wants to do next, my co-founder, because he's a brilliant guy, and then the other answer, in the case that he didn't want to do anything, I would probably just like open up, just kind of like restaurants. I would think about like, there's so many different types of capital. So I would just probably focus a lot more on cultural capital, like making fun experiences on the internet is one thing. And then I think the other thing I'd be interested in is just making fun experiences, in real life, right? Giving people fun things to do. I like creating experiences where people are happy, or they go there to be happy, and they go there to laugh. I think that kind of stuff is stuff that makes me excited.
So that comes through. And when you were talking about restaurants, why is your Discord username I Love Chipotle? I know there's a story in there, but I can't remember it.
Yeah, I mean, so it was Yeah, so basically, when you start a Web3 project and all that kind of stuff, you need to be this, secretive person, and no one can know who you are. You have to be undoxed. Like, that's the whole thing. And there's a fun fact about me, and I don't know how popular Taco Bell is in the UK, but it's incredibly popular in the US. And my favorite menu item once got removed from it, and I started a petition to bring it back because I'm a giant Taco Bell fan. And so when we were creating our usernames, I was like, oh man, I really got to throw people off the trail about who I am. This is largely a joke, right? But so instead of making my username I love Taco Bell, which is what it would normally have been, I made it I love Chipotle. So that's about it. But people really seem to love the username for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, I always remember it when I'm searching through. I can find it easily. And did the menu item come back? How successful was the petition?
Yeah, it did come back. It's like, yeah, I've been like, it's so funny because again, talking about gaming and all that kind of stuff is much more fulfilling for me. But yeah, there was a whole press tour around it. It was a crazy experience. Like Taco Bell reached out to me, and I got to yeah, like be this like kind of, I don't know, like this like little internet celebrity for them for the return of the Mexican pizza. So I'm really thankful to them and grateful to them for bringing it back and including me in the process. It was really cool.
Awesome. Krish, it's been an absolute pleasure. Appreciate your time as always. And obviously good luck with everything. And hopefully we'll see the esports activation coming soon.
Yeah. And yeah, Logan, thank you for having me. And thank you for the conversation and the trip down memory lane in so many different ways and to the future. So I appreciate you having me and thanks for giving Internet Game a try as well with your team.
Very welcome. We love it. Cheers, Krish.
All right, take care, man. Bye.